Excellencies, distinguished delegates, and dear friends, I am Fatima Tassise, a junior student from High Leadership Charter School in the Bronx. Ms. Rosa Almanzar and I will be your Masters of Ceremonies. Ms. Almanzar is the director of the Family Shelter of Project Hope in Boston, where she was at first a resident back in 1984. Together, we would like to welcome you all to this assembly to commemorate the International Day for the Eradication of Poverty. I would also like to give a very special recognition to our guests who travel from very faraway countries and to the children and young people in the audience here today. One more note before we begin. This is a two-part commemoration. After we hear the delegates and activists, a moment of reflection will take place in the UN Gardens at the commemorative stone in honor of victims of extreme poverty. We will walk to the gardens and gather around the stone for this time of reflection. If you want to share the commemoration with others, you are welcome to join our Twitter conversation using the hashtag #EndPoverty and hashtag #StopPoverty.
Move over a little bit. 70 years ago, the Universal Declaration of Rights was signed on the Trocadero Plaza in Paris. This declaration captured the enduring spirit of the human family, setting for itself the task of ensuring for all its members freedom, justice, and peace by the recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal rights of each human being. In the same spirit, we gather today on the International Day of the Eradication of Poverty to express our will to come together with those furthest behind, to build an inclusive world, universal respect for human rights and dignity. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, your presence among us today is a sign of your commitment to end everywhere the violations of human rights, violations that are caused and consequences of extreme poverty, violations that too many of us here today continue to face and to resist. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am now pleased to introduce to you His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. Thank you, Excellency. Your message of hope and strength will continue to inspire us all and lead us in our commitment to build a world universal respect for human rights and dignity. His Excellency, Mr. Antonio, has other pressing commitment he must attend at this time, but we highly value him for honoring us with his presence and participation at this important occasion. Excellency, again, thank you very much for having joined us today.
We will now listen to a message by Ms. Kim Cook, an activist from Boston, who will tell us how she tries to build caring relationships in challenging environments.
Good afternoon. My name is Kim Cook. I was pregnant when I first went into a shelter. At first, the Department of Transitional Assistance couldn't help me. They said I didn't need a shelter. I could sleep on someone's couch. I only got into a shelter when I showed up with my infant son in February and told them, I have nowhere to go. I am going to be out on the street with a 2-month-old tonight. in the middle of winter. I've been in a shelter for 5 years now. They were giving out housing vouchers, but I was not eligible because my last permanent address wasn't a Boston address. The shelter I am in now is infested with mice. People break the rules and have cats that control the mice, and the shelter lets them do it. In the welfare hotel we were in before, there was no kitchen, just a tiny microwave and a fridge. Microwaving food is not a healthy way to raise children, but that was the only choice we had. I got a crock pot, but they took it and said they would return it when we moved out because crock pots were not allowed. It seems like a lot of the system is built to keep people in poverty. For example, there's a limit to how much money you can save. If you have more than $2,000, your benefits get cut off. But it costs more than $2,000 to get an apartment. You need first month's rent and a security deposit. How am I supposed to save for an apartment if I can't have more than $2,000? There are assistance programs, but it is not feasible for families to get assistance with all the hurdles they have to jump. Sometimes I feel like policies are put into place more to protect the system from abuse than to lift people up. My children are half Native American. We lost our state health insurance for 2 months because they said I didn't send in the necessary paperwork to prove that they were Native American. With Massachusetts health insurance, there are no extra benefits for being Native American. Why did I have to get all these documents? In the end, they listed my kids as white. I got my health insurance back by hiding who they truly are for the bureaucracy. I think it's partially discrimination, but it's also a lack of trust. At the dentist, it was either live with a rotting tooth or pay $1,500. In the end, I went to a dental school where a student worked on me. They got hands-on training, and I got the tooth removed. When you live in poverty, you have to know those strategies. Otherwise, you can't get what you need and access your basic rights. I know homeless couples who are in the street because they are not legally married and can't go to a shelter together. I know a 17-year-old teenager who is out on the street because family shelters won't take males over 17. There are so many faces of humanity being ignored because of poverty. In Boston, most public bathrooms close at 5 p.m. After 5, there is nowhere for people living on the street to even wash their hands. There should be access to basic necessities regardless of income or housing status. The homeless community says this is just how it is. The bureaucrats won't listen to us. We vote, but things aren't changing the way we want. Why am I settling for that? Why am I not crying out, this is a crime against humanity? This is degrading. I want to be part of changing the system. I volunteer every week with a program that has free lunch and art programs for the homeless. I can always help people in some way. I buy them a cup of coffee when I have the money. They struggle and get down, and I say, it's going to get better. Just keep hanging in there. The only thing that gets us through each day is that we rely on each other. We are stronger together. Really, we're a family. While I live in the shelter, I'm trying to give my kids as normal a life as possible. I may not be able to afford everything, but I want my children to have diverse learning experiences. They know they live in a shelter, but they don't feel any different than their friends at school. I don't want them to feel they missed out on something because of our financial situation. Children are the ones that will carry us into the future, so we need to raise them right. I pride myself on raising my children without discrimination. I teach them that everyone is the same. It doesn't matter if they look different, if they speak different, everyone is the same. That is a very important lesson that needs to be spread. There can be discrimination against people who receive public assistance or have government health insurance. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something that's ingrained in us. It's something that's taught. This is a vital step for people to get out of poverty. It's a struggle, but it's worth it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cook, for sharing your deep commitment to human dignity.
We will now listen to a message of Mr. Patrick Matara from Kibera, a large slum outside Nairobi, Kenya. We will hear how passionate he is about making a difference in children's lives.
Good afternoon, all. Today, I will share my story. I think story inspires people and sometimes can change them. I grew up in a very humble family in rural Kenya. My dad left my mom and 6 siblings, so my mom raised me. When I reached secondary school, I was unable to go to school because we could not afford the school fees. I was devastated because I did very well in primary school and I saw my friends going to school. I thought, this is my end. Then I said to the God that I always pray to, I know one day, sometime, I will be in school again. I decided to go to Nairobi to look for my dad. It was a challenge. Where could I find him? After a month and a half, I finally found my father. I was very bitter when I first saw him, but I didn't want to show him my feelings. So I told him why I was looking for him. I wanted to go to school. My dad used to drink at that time, but I talked with him so much that he stopped. He found the sense to take me to school. With his support, I finished high school. I even found someone who sponsored me to go to university. There I met Sister John, my professor. She challenged me. She inspired me. I used to think that you have to have money to give back to the society. She taught me that I didn't need money. I had other resources that I can use to transform my society. I can use my time and energy since I'm young. That's what the resource that I have. I realized that there are children who will never have a big brother to talk to in Kibera. They will not have someone who can be their voice, who can teach them, who can work with them, and teach them their rights and the responsibility of human beings. That really inspired me to invest in children of Kibera, a very large slum of Nairobi. There are so many children who are struggling, and as a young adult, it was my responsibility to make them play and so by talking and playing with them, the group I belong to gave them hope. I tell them my story and how I was able to go to school. It challenges them and it pushes them not to feel hopeless, unwanted, and useless. It is something that has touched me in Kibera. Children go through many problems and they need somebody who can stand up for them, walk with them, work with them, speak with them, and show them the way. When I think about the fathers behind, the ones who comes to mind are the children who have been discriminated against, isolated, and left in the streets. I work with Edmond Rice Karibu Group to find those who are left behind. One day, a group of children we work with told us about a child and her mother. We decided to visit them. We met the 16-year-old girl and I noticed that she was mentally disabled. At first, she was not comfortable sharing with us because it was our first time in their family. But the second time, she started opening up about her challenges and how she was discriminated and isolated. Her father died when she was 7 years old. After she was born, her mother went to a clinic for a checkup and she was told they had both been infected with the HIV/AIDS. Then a doctor wanted to take the child and give her mother another home. The mother refused. When people in the community learned they were infected, they stopped visiting and talking to her. The woman became depressed. She thought about leaving her daughter. Through time and friendship, we connected them with a center our group works with. The mother was recovering and her daughter went to school, but some people still abused her. When we find out she was being abused, we reported the case to the police and they took action and they apprehended the man. Now the man is behind the bars. He did not realize that sleeping with the girl could infect him too. This girl and her mother are kind of people who are left behind. We must befriend the marginalized. When people experience challenges and injustice, we need to come together to address the problem. If we work as a team, we can win. We will accomplish our goal of eradicating poverty. Human beings should be treated with dignity. It is a responsibility to value every human and respect them for who they are, to treat them equally. Children like the ones whose story I shared today need to be protected. We need to respect their dignity and value them. We give them value by helping them realize their potential and ability by addressing their needs. If they need education, how can we help them at school? That shows we value them. Another way we can give value to somebody is making them realize how important they are. Even if they don't have anything, even if they aren't even in school, even if their parents died, they are valuable. My hope is that children I am friends with realize that life means and how precious they are to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Matara, for sharing your inspiring message of hope and your commitment to be a friend of children who are left behind. Now we shall listen to a musical interlude. This song is called Be Change, and it features testimonies of people living homeless in Dublin. Please welcome Grammy winner, singer, songwriter, and executive director of Koala Foundation, Susan McKeon, and Michael Brunock, singer and songwriter.
Thank you. I'd like to thank ATD Fourth World for commissioning me to write this song, which I wrote based on the testimonies of people living homeless in Dublin. And since I wrote the song, homelessness has been escalating in Dublin due to structural economic factors. What's alarming to many people in Ireland is the amount of families that have become homeless in Dublin, my hometown, in the last 3 years. It has risen 18% in the last year alone. And my organization is working with organizations like ATD in Dublin, Sale Women's Project, Rialto Youth Project, Donegal Travellers Project, and Monaghan Integrated Development that works with people living in direct provision to amplify those voices and develop creative solutions to the problems we face today, to make sure everyone is included, because we all belong.
All the bad things happened in my life. They don't tell you a thing about who I am. Don't judge me, just be there for me. If you really want to learn.
Though I need help, there is no one to blame. see around me is injustice. What I see ahead of me is love.
And if you wanna be changed, then we have to stand up together. And if you wanna see change, then we have to speak up together. And if you wanna be changed, then we have to stand up together. And if you wanna see change, being homeless is like being handcuffed. All my power was taken away. How can I show my face to my children when I couldn't give them a home?
I have known homelessness all generations, my parents too. A family, we are one. To know this gets us through.
And if you wanna be changed, then we have to stand up together. And if you wanna say change, then we have to speak up together. And if you wanna be changed, it's not gonna come while you're waiting. And if you wanna be changed, and if you wanna be changed, if you wanna be changed, if you wanna be changed, just hold on to what you know is true. Just hold on to what you know is true.
Ms. Stacy White, fourth world activist from New York City. She will tell us how strongly she feels that everyone should be treated with equal respect.
Good afternoon. People in poverty are not the lowest of the low. I live with my daughter in a shelter in Queens, New York City. I'm doing my best to look for permanent housing to stay outside of the shelter system. Throughout my life, I have lived in poverty-stricken areas. For me, poverty is about neglected areas, areas that are not taken care of, where there are no resources for families, like libraries, good schools, or even good stores. In the stores, most of the groceries are expired, including potato chips and sodas. The store owners think we're content with living this way because they think we do not have a voice. But this is not the case. People in poverty living have this fear that if they open their mouths, then action will be taken against them, so no one says anything. So we're going to continue to have stores like that unless people in poverty let their voices be heard, so others are stopping to take advantage of them. In these places where sidewalks are cracked and infrastructures are broken, it's important that we stand up for our rights, that we voice our needs, make noise to get what we have the right to have. We have to make noise. I don't mean being loud, being violent, cursing people out, belittling people. I mean going to meet people, because a piece of paper is just not going to work. You have to go down there and stay in their face and keep staying in their face. You have the right to claim your rights. It's important because it's only right. Everyone should have the right to speak, to say how they feel about what is going on in their life. It's a human right to be heard and to listen to someone, to communicate with one another. A lot of times I have had the feeling I was not heard. When I went into the shelter system, I was told I was giving them false information, but they weren't trying to hear that, talking above me and raising their voices. They don't listen because a lot of people go by status. If you have a job and I don't, I'm lower. If I live in projects and you own a home, I'm lower. If you have better shoes, I'm lower. So if we're not on the same level, people don't want to be bothered. Often I get the impression that some people are not properly trained for their jobs. When you're working a job that requires customer service or dealing with people, you have to be trained to deal with it all. Inside poverty-stricken neighborhoods, to stop the violence, people need to bring it out in the open and stop keeping it inside. If we don't get together to say something about it, violence will keep happening. We in our community only make noise if a black person is killed by a police officer. We don't say anything when we kill each other. In the neighborhoods where I'm from, this happens every day, every other day, but we don't say anything. Because first, people are scared of retaliation. And second, some police officers think, let them kill themselves. We need peacemakers in our neighborhoods because some people don't feel secure or safe enough to tell the police. We have to find someone we can fully trust who will listen to us, and then maybe someone the police will listen to, because they're not going to listen to people in the neighborhoods, people in poverty. My mother would play that role. My mother didn't care what color you were. If you're in trouble, you're in trouble, and that's it. That taught me to raise my kids with respect, and that's why I have respect for everyone. She had a lot of impact on me. Now, if I see somebody fighting, if it's not a violent fight, but something I can resolve, I try to resolve it. Nobody deserves to be put down because of where they're from, what color they are, how much they make, or what they eat. I don't feel disrespected too much. When someone tries to disrespect me, it feels like a raincoat that gets wet and the rain rolls off, because I know who I am, I know where I came from, and I am proud of who I am. Respect starts at home with a very caring adult. Kids are bullied so much. If you tell your child to stand on your own 2 feet and you are perfectly fine the way you are, when he is being bullied, he will just walk away with a please, get out of my face with that. But if a parent or a caring adult doesn't let them know that, then that child is going to absorb the bullying until the pressure becomes too much. Let's see what their art and their talent is. You have to help your child be confident. It's same for our LGBT young people. A lot of them are killing themselves, turning to drugs, or living in the street because their parents are not accepting. When you have a child, love is unconditional. Homeless people also deserve respect. Anyone who has any care in the world for people should let them know where they can find help. I tell people where they can find support. Also, simply saying hello to someone makes a world of a difference. Everyone can and should come together. All it takes is one person to take the first step. Usually another follows behind. It's not too hard to follow in someone's footsteps. What is hard is to take that first step to tell other people. So today, I'm telling you, do not be afraid to take that first step. Let's come together and make a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. White. Your commitment to come together with one voice to create change is very inspiring. Thank you.